Packers fans? Aaron Nagler here with another Rookie Watch with Malcolm Kennedy from Big Mac Breakdowns. Malcolm, how you doing, man?
I'm good, Aaron, man. How are you?
You know, I'm hanging in there. The preseason is over, thank God. You know, you get to that point in the summer where you'll just like do anything for some football, and then football's here, and you're so excited, and then you got to sit through that third preseason game. That third one's always
Man,
tough.
it was
That's a tough one.
brutal. Trust me, the chat on my watch party live, we were just ready to go. But I'm like, I'm gonna
That's
stick
the
it out,
thing,
man, because this is
right?
what I signed up for.
Well,
But
that's the other thing, like, because like someone like yourself who does like deep dive breakdowns, you
yeah,
got to watch that fourth quarter. You got to know what's going on with these bottom of the roster guys.
man, yeah. Just in case
You never
they come
know.
and,
You never.
and make an impact, hopefully on this team. You never
I
know.
loved it. Who
You know,
was
the
it?
Packers love those back of the roster
They
guys.
they
They
do.
love those
But
back
I
of the
loved
roster guys.
there was a play in the fourth quarter where it was Hamilton, I think, got beat up the right sideline, and I'm like,
Yeah,
this poor guy. He's been in town for like what 4 days, and he's out there
right.
having to like play
That's,
and know the defense and whatever. But hey, he got a shot. He got a
yeah,
shot on an NFL roster coming off the XFL, so you love to see it.
yeah. It got to
But
the point where I
so
don't know. Yeah, it got to the point where I don't know who I'm watching. I'm just
I
watching.
you just know it's football.
Yeah.
But now we get the real stuff. And I did want to kind of touch base with you again. As I said, like throughout this season, we'll kind of touch base with you, talk about the rookies. And look, there's a lot to talk about. You go back to where we were, heading into training camp and our views on some of these rookies.
Mm-hmm.
I think some things have changed. Some things probably solidified what we already thought. What is your initial reaction after we've gone through training camp now? We've seen 3 preseason games. You've got a little bit of tape to kind of look at these guys through the lens of, okay, here they are against NFL level competition as opposed to what they've done in college. What's
Mm-hmm.
your initial kind of reaction or takeaway from this rookie class as a whole?
Well, to start off with a positive notes, it's just traits all around. Traits on traits on traits. And what I mean by that is just all these guys can make an impact with their athleticism alone, potentially. I've
Right.
seen a lot from the back of the draft guys like Carrington Valentine, Kobe Wooden, and Carl Brooks. And then I would say to a lesser degree, seeing a few things from the top guys like Lucas Van Ness and Luke Musgrave. My Tucker Craft agenda isn't going as well as I thought it would, but that's it. That
That's
just
all.
comes
It's
with the
always it's
territory.
always tough when the priors don't get confirmed.
Yeah,
That's always tough.
exactly. But a guy like Jaden Reed, who's a top of the draft guys, the second round pick, obviously, he showed a lot to me. I feel like he showed a lot of chemistry with Jordan Love. I would say a little bit more chemistry than he had with Christian Watson. It almost seemed like so.
Right.
I say his chemistry looked second to Romeo Dobbs. So with Jordan Love, so
Right.
Jaden Reed, I saw a lot of encouraging signs, whether that was on those crossers or in the jet sweep game. So I can't wait to see them build on that. And hopefully that Luke Musgrave, excuse me, and Tucker Craft could follow suit like Jaden Reed did with Jordan Love, because I think that's the most important factor throughout this whole rookie class.
I'm really glad you brought that up because I haven't heard that talked about a lot, but it is
Yeah.
true and was very apparent from the practice field to the preseason games when it comes to Jaden Reed. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I understand they've had an off season together, right? Where they're
Yeah.
in meetings together and then they do some of the stuff in the OTAs and mini camp when they're in shorts and t-shirts. You're still running around though. And
Yeah.
I guess that the way they have seemingly been in sync in these preseason games, that's been a little surprising to me because they don't have as much kind of banked reps as they like to say as
Yeah.
say Romeo Dobbs or Christian Watson with Jordan Love, but man, they seem to really be on the same page and
Mm-hmm.
not just in. I mean, heading into this season, I thought the no-brainer here was Reed was going to be your jet sweep guy,
Yeah.
orbit motion, get the ball in space in the perimeter. But man, he's really done a lot of work, a lot more work down the field than
Yeah.
I expected. And to your point, I mean, it's very clear that Jordan trusts him to be where he's supposed to be.
Yeah, and if you go back to that Bengals game, he showed that he could win deep. He probably would have had that deep touchdown
Right.
if Sean Clifford had led him down the field. So, and he did that quite a bit at Michigan State. So I wasn't the most surprised, but he displayed those traits from Michigan State, being competitive at the catch point, being able to work across the middle, even show some competitive toughness in the blocking game, even though he got threw around a little bit by those defensive ends.
A little
So
bit.
he's
But
shown
we're not asking him to block defensive
right.
ends. I mean, everyone's got to slow down. I saw that clip and I'm like,
Yeah,
okay, yeah, but he is a smaller statute guy being asked to stick
yeah,
his nose in there. Not everybody can be Alan Lazard. I
yeah.
don't ding him for that one too much.
I would say the only real concern that I have about Jaden Reed is will he be able to beat press coverage on a
Right.
consistent basis, especially against those bigger slot corners. And we face quite a few good slot corners going into this year, so that's the only thing that I'll be looking forward to with Jaden Reed as far as a concern.
Speaking of concerns and coming off your initial reaction about traits, right?
Yeah.
What do you think about what Lucas Van Ness did or did not put on tape this preseason? Because to me, that's a guy where I thought those traits, as you say, would be a little more apparent. And I'm not saying that they weren't there or that like he completely disappeared, but man, I thought some of that explosiveness, some of that physicality that we saw on his
Yeah.
college tape would show up a little bit more. And I don't know if it's what he's being asked to do, the fact that he's learning a new position, what have you. But man, I really didn't see a whole lot of it this preseason.
Yeah, and as we all know, the Packers they're going to value those athletic traits first, but technique and processing is still a part of the game, very much so. And I'm gonna even go reference a guy like Carl Brooks. Wasn't a great tester at his pro day, but he displayed great hand technique and get off with his time with the Packers so far. So I believe that Lucas Van Ness, I think he's thinking the game hasn't quite slowed down
Right.
for him a little bit. Can really fix up his hand placement when he's going for that bull rush. He definitely needs to add some more pass rush moves. He had a nice cross chop against the Seahawks that impressed me. It kind of like took me back a little bit, but it's just the technique and the processing that Lucas Van Ness, excuse me, I'm gonna get those names mixed up quite a
Man,
bit.
I'm with you.
But
I've done it twice myself. I
I'm
hear
gonna
you.
say LVN. LVN is
There
gonna
you
have
go.
to continue to nurture that hand technique, hand placement, and just processing all together. He can set a really good edge, and I do believe he has some rests where he didn't quite make the play on the ball, but he did set up his
He
teammates to
affected the
make a play
play.
on the
Right.
ball, which
Right.
is going to also be important in this Joe Barry defense. So he might not have made the wild plays that we expected him to make, but I do think he'll have impact in other ways, whether that's with just disrupting the play. He had a disruption against the Seattle Seahawks when Kenny Clark, we was too busy seeing Kenny Clark, swallow up
Kenny
the running back, but
resetting
Lucas Van Ness,
the
he was
line of
right there
scrimmage.
setting
Yeah.
the edge. So
That's
I
true.
want
That's
Packer
true.
fans to kind of like, just have a little bit of grace with Lucas Van Ness, but sure enough, he is there. He's going to be a staple in this defense. So just rest assured.
Let's go back to the offensive side of the ball and look at a couple pass catchers. One who was a draft pick in Dontavian Wicks, and then an undrafted kid in Malik Heath. And I don't think any Packers fan who's watching any Packers content online on YouTube at this moment in time in history is not aware of Malik Heath, the kind of splash he made in the preseason. He was running with the ones against the Seahawks.
Yep.
We're recording this before the initial 53 gets released. I'm going to be shocked if he's not on the 53. But do you think there's a chance that maybe they try to put him on the practice squad because of the fact that Dontavian Wicks was a draft pick? And we all know Brian and the Packers, they love their draft picks. Has Heath done enough in your estimation to make the 53?
I think he has, and I think he has done enough, not just as a receiver, but as a run blocker as well. And I think me, along with other Packer fans, think that this guy could potentially shoot up to wide receiver 5 or even 4. So I think you will be looking at another receiver, not just Wicks, but maybe even Grant DeBose getting the short end of the stick heading into the regular season. So I believe Malik Heath deserves a spot on this team because he worked hard. And from the moment he got there, he got the cosign from Jordan Love himself, how he just been working his ass off, and it translated into the games. Doing the little things, coming back to the ball on curl routes, fighting at the catch point, and then doing what the Packers asked up from all of their receivers is just to block in the run game, show that physicality. So I believe that he makes this team, and not only makes the team, but I believe that he plays somewhat of he takes he takes a handful of snaps away from some of these wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4, and 5, and so forth. So I believe that Malik Heath makes this team, and not only
I mean,
makes it, but I believe he plays a substantial role.
it's funny you say, like, you know, the little things as far as coming back to the ball and then going at the catch point. I mean, there's that one throw that Clifford makes that you're just like, he has no business throwing that football in the middle of the field, and Malik Heath completely bails him out. So
Yeah,
yeah, that if you're a quarterback, you obviously love this kid because, like you say, he is fearless and he's going to try to make the play no matter what.
yeah, and he might be one of those guys that's in limbo between he's better than backups, but he's just not quite a starter.
Right.
But I believe that as a long-term project, you still got the 4 years of control over
Control. Right.
Malik
That's
Heath.
true. That's
This guy
true.
puts on about 5-10 pounds. You don't know what you might have. You might have a legit red zone target, a one-on-one go getter.
Right.
You never know what you might have in this guy, and he might not have the most athletic traits and start as far as speed and quickness, but he definitely has the size, and size can matter in the NFL.
No doubt. No question. Let's talk about the tight ends real quick.
Mhm.
You know, Kraft, I think, has been up and down. The physicality, you do see it from time to time, but I think maybe not a rude awakening, but it is kind of noticeable how there are certainly plays where he's able to use that physicality and you see what you saw on the college level. But then there's also plays where I think he's having real welcome to the NFL moments where it's like,
Yeah,
okay, I can't just get by on my physicality because everyone up here is physical. And then you
right.
look at Musgrave. I don't think there's any doubt that he's going to be a major component in a big part of the offense. From practice to the preseason, there's so many plays that are drawn up specifically for him, and that doesn't mean they're going to
Mhm.
run all of them every week. But it's clear they have a package for him. I'm a bit
Yeah.
surprised, actually, how much I think they're going to probably end up utilizing him. What did you see through the preseason? How do you think these guys are going to do heading into their rookie year?
Well, I'll start with Luke Musgrave. He definitely showed the traits. Unfortunately, he Jordan Love just missed him on that crossing route against the Bengals just to see what he
Right,
could do in open space. I
right.
thought that Jordan
He
Love
had a
could
lot
have
of
got
it.
the ball. I thought Jordan Love could have got the ball out to him a little sooner on that in that flat against the
Yep,
Bengals as well.
yep.
But he is showing some signs of having that upside as a blocker. I thought that they would have Kraft more as that wide tight end, inline tight end, and Musgrave playing off the line, but it looked like the
Mm,
roles were reversed throughout the preseason. So I think that might have impacted Kraft's ability as well. And to move on to Kraft, I believe that that competitive jump from South Dakota State, where he's not playing, top tier competition,
yes,
to the
sir.
NFL can possibly kind of stunt his, not necessarily stunt his growth, but kind of just have some bumps and bruises throughout the road, just making that jump to the NFL. But I believe that these guys are they're both with raw prospects. I believe they both are going to work hard to make sure that they are everything that Matt LaFleur needs them to be, because they will be vital pieces in this offense, especially without Tyler Davis, who
Right.
Andy Herman said was the best blocking tight end on this roster. So we'll see what the Packers do with that. But they're going to be on the field regardless. But Musgrave, I would like to see more from him after the catch. He has a wide strike zone, being 6'5", 6'6". Wasn't the most physical guy at Oregon State to start with,
Mm,
but I just hope he can build on that mentality wise. As far as Kraft, he has the mentality. It's more of like the technique and slowing things down, how to finish blocks, and when he gets out into the flat, make sure he focus on the ball, catching the ball first, then getting upfield. I thought
right.
Jordan Love could have dumped it off to him against the Seahawks, because I like to see Tucker Kraft after the catch,
You
but
want to see, yeah, exactly,
I was like, throw it. I
going
was like,
after
throw it,
people.
throw
Well,
it. He just didn't throw it. He just didn't throw it, and he took off running.
no.
I was like, I can't
Yep.
be mad, but I thought
Yep.
that if he dumped it off to Kraft, he would have got the
Well,
first
that's my
down.
thing always with quarterbacks. It's like, man, they're
Yeah,
paid to take those hits, to run people
yeah,
over. Like, you're not supposed to be
yeah,
running. Just get the ball out in the flat to the guy who's literally paid to take people on with the ball
yeah,
in his hand. I'm with you on that one. Definitely with you
yeah,
on that one. Let's talk about those two young defensive linemen who you mentioned, Wooden earlier, and Brooks. Are you talking about? I'm just going to straight up say it. I'm almost shocked at how good they have been early. Now,
yeah.
it's always a caveat, right? Like, I remember
Mhm.
this summer with Malik Heath, I was like, all right, let's wait till they get the pads on, and he's doing it against NFL competition and blah, blah, blah. He's never blinked, man. He's come on every step of the way. And now I look at these two guys, And I'm like, I did not expect. And I thought, okay, yeah, they've got some explosiveness. They've both got some pretty quick first steps. Maybe
Yeah.
that will help them in the NFL. I have been absolutely shocked at both of these guys, but Brooks in particular, as far as
Mhm.
their ability just to cause disruption and wreak a little havoc along the interior. Now, again, we're not to the regular season yet, and
Yeah.
we'll see what happens when teams are game planning and really trying to make things work on offense. But up until this point, they have answered every bell, and they've been, like I said, almost shockingly good up to this point.
Yeah, and I think we all have to take these performances with a little grain of salt. Now, I love both of these
Absolutely.
prospects. I love both of them as prospects prior to the draft. With Carl Brooks, he played out on the edge, so I'm sure moving to the inside as a pass rusher, I believe he was probably relieved, being that guards are more of his size,
Right.
closer to his size in the NFL. But he has great hand speed and great hand power. So he put that all on display. I think he had about 5 pressures throughout the preseason. So as far as Kobe Wooden, I think he came alive in that Patriots game, being very disruptive and getting after the quarterback, making a few plays in the run. So I'm excited for these guys. I think that we will probably see a little bit bumps on their heads too, because
Mm-hmm.
again, these coaches for these other teams, they're not showing everything, including the Packers. They're not showing everything. So
Right.
we don't know what type of bumps and bruises they might have just based off their preseason performance. But I believe that they could both at least come in on third down and give guys like Devontae Wyatt, if he needs to, Kenny Clark and TJ Slayton, especially, and rush after the quarterback, especially when they run those 3-down lineman sets. So I'm hoping that these guys can make an impact on third down. I believe that'll be their main role. I believe
Right.
Carl Brooks can play a little bit in the run as well. And I think Kobe Wooden, as he continues to add, functional strength and mature his body, I believe that these guys will fill out very well for the Packers. So I'm excited to see them, but I will expect to see some bumps and bruises if they have to play more than a rotational role.
Right. I think, well, then that makes all the sense in the world, right? To kind of
Yeah.
rotate them through. And we'll get to our last two rookies that we're going to talk about here well, maybe last three, but I'll start with an undrafted guy in
Mm-hmm.
Brenton Cox, who has just done everything the Packers have asked him to do. Anybody who follows college football or his kind of path knows that this is, I want to say his last chance, but man, he has been excellent for the Packers from scrimmage. As far as what he's been asked to do from special teams, I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if he's done enough there to make the team, but just as far as what he's done as a defensive football player, man, he's impressive. I really like his game. What have you seen?
Yeah, and I think just not even from a football perspective, but from a personal perspective, personal growth is everything. And if he's showing and that looked like it's reflecting in his work when he came to the Packers, being able to willing to do everything that the coaches asked him, whether that's rushing the quarterback, playing against the run, playing special teams. He really impressed me this past game against the Seahawks. Again, another guy that didn't test well, but you could have fooled me with that, with his hand speed, with his hand technique.
Right.
He's not the fastest guy, but he looks nimble and pouncy. And I was just like, wow. And I know this was against, again, another guy like Malik Heath, might be better than the backups, but just might not be a starter. And I believe that he belongs on this team because I would say, and dare I say it, was more, you called his name more than you called Lucas Van Ness's name.
No question.
But not to
No doubt.
compare the two per se, but
No. But just being
but
active, yeah,
yeah, like
100%.
you start to pick up on that, and maybe he could just because he was a UDFA doesn't mean he can't teach a guy like Lucas Van Ness some things or two. Given that these guys have similar skill sets, being power rushers and things of that nature, so these guys are going to learn from each other, and I can't wait to see what they put together on third down and being able to rush the quarterback as well as playing the run as well, because Brenton Cox showed that he could do that as well. So
You
yeah.
did that throughout practices that I saw, and then the last two preseason games. I thought he's done an excellent job in run support and setting the
Yeah,
edge and
he
shedding
got buzz.
blocks.
Yeah, he got buzz saws for hands, man. Like
No question,
he's
man.
swinging them like pendulums, and and they're
I love it.
violent. They are violent hands, and he has a motor that just keeps running hot. And
100%.
it's like when you watch the defense as a whole, that was from first string to third string. I just got chill bumps, like just
It's
watching these
it's
guys fly
interesting, isn't it?
around.
It's noticeable, right? That's
It's
something I was
noticeable.
just talking about this on Daily the other day. Like, I don't know what it is. I can't pinpoint what exactly has happened, but
Hmm.
the fly to the ball mentality on defense is so noticeable in its uptick. The idea
Yeah,
that all 11 hats at all times are rallying to the football. I don't know if it's
yeah,
the rookies. I don't know if it's Joe Barry doing something else, but
right.
man, it is noticeable, right?
Yeah, I think again in that Seahawks game was the first time didn't see a check down go for a first down.
Right.
It was
Right.
I think Isaiah McDuffie made the play, but that
Yep.
was it's still another guy that hasn't really been able to prove much with the Packers. But again, the mentality is showing that these guys are taking steps each game. So if they can continue to stack performances and keep taking those steps, man, the sky's the limit for this Joe Barry defense. You
Love it.
know, and that's exciting.
What do you think about Sean Clifford? Because that's a guy who I know a lot of draft
Mhm.
analysts, a lot of the noise around him when he was selected was very negative. But man, I put it out there on Twitter the first week I was in camp. Well, this is the biggest surprise to me as far as how well he was playing. And I
Mhm.
think he's only continued to surprise people with his play in these preseason games. What have you seen uh, from Clifford that would kind of warrant the being the backup? And what do you think are his prospects long term?
Well, first, I didn't necessarily hate the Sean Clifford pick. I did prefer a quarterback over Sean Clifford and Jaron Hall. But I'm glad that we made the pick of Sean Clifford. He played against a lot of tough defenses. You got to think he played against the Aiden Hutchinsons, the David
Mm.
Ojabo, the Keanu Beatons of the world, especially
Hmm.
some good defensive backs, and Joey Porter, who was drafted in this class. So he played against a lot of tough competition at Penn State and played some SEC competition. Played against Kobe Wooden this past
Right.
year. So this guy is battle tested, and he showed that he could hang with the best. Whether he won the game or not in Penn State, he showed that he could hang with these guys, and I think he translated that to the NFL. Be it that he's a go get it by any means, whether that's through the air or with his legs, and I think that his athleticism deceived pretty much everybody.
Yeah.
When
Big
you seen
time.
him take off against the Bengals
That up the
in that
left side, I
2 minute
was like,
drill,
where? Who is this?
yeah,
Right.
exactly.
100%.
When you seen him take off and you just like, okay, he's building from here. Of course, still has some ways to go as a passer per se, but as far as competitive nature alone, God forbid he ever has to come in, but uh,
Well,
unless he's taking kneels at the end of the
there
game,
you
but
go. There you go.
I would expect him to put that on display if he ever had to come in, God forbid again, uh,
Right.
for Jordan Love. But yeah, Sean Clifford, yeah, he just bring that heart. He's gonna mature and develop alongside of Jordan Love. I'm pretty sure those guys are really in tune with each other. So, and having a mature backup is key as well. So even though he's a rookie, he's still 25 years of age, older than Jordan
Right.
Love. So if I'm
Which
not
is
mistaken,
crazy. It's just
so
nuts. That's
so
nuts.
it's gonna be good to have that similar age gap, being
Right.
able to bounce ideas, being able to go through film and relate with each other on a personal level. So I believe that Sean Clifford, I'm happy that he is the QB2 of this team. Give it that all that he brings.
And then finally, I gotta save the most controversial for last.
Hmm.
How do you rate or how do you analyze the rookie kicker? Uh, Carlson's been through the ups and downs already, and we aren't even to the regular season yet. From really rough practices where he misses a bunch to getting out there in these preseason games and nailing 57, 52. Like it's been a up and down affair. They
Hmm.
seem dead set on letting this guy rise and fall throughout the entirety of this season. What have you seen from this rookie kicker this summer?
Well, the word of the day for Anders Carlson, excuse me, is grace. We gotta have grace. And I know he had. We mentioned this last time. He got big shoes to fill with Mason Crosby being gone. Uh, I would say rotating holders probably didn't help. The wind gusts probably didn't help. There was a lot of odds and a lot of expectations for him coming into camp, and I could see how that could be kind of anxiety ridden for a rookie. But I believe that against the Patriots, he kind of settled in a little bit more, and then against the Seahawks, despite that field goal kick being blocked because the left side of the line, Tucker Kraft and some other guys was over there, got steamrolled. I would say besides that field goal in the Seahawks game, he showed that he is settling in. Of course, he's going to need some time moving forward, but I think the word for Anders Carlson is grace, and he might miss some, but hopefully we're not in a position to where he has to come in on a consistent basis. And if he has to come in, hopefully he has a decent distance to kick from. So I think that Anders Carlson, I believe I still have hope. I've been driving the bus of the Anders Carlson fan bandwagon. Like, I'm telling everybody just to chill out, you know what I'm saying? AC got us. He got us. I'm not, and maybe I don't know if he watched our last episode.
Oh, I'm sure he did. He's an ardent supporter, ardent watcher of GSAT TV.
But I wouldn't have put the fire up under him if I didn't believe in him. But again, a mature prospect, played in a lot of big games at Auburn. So I believe that, you know, just giving some times. I believe Mason Crosby had underneath the 80% field goal percentage his rookie season, and it took him about a few years to get over 80%. So it could be a chance that this guy doesn't go 90%. He's not Justin Tucker.
Right.
Who is Justin Tucker?
Few people, no doubt.
And,
I love it.
And like, I know kickers nowadays are far few in between, but I think with consistency and being and having trust in them and consistency throughout the special teams as a whole, we could see more improvement from Anders Carlson. And now that we know that Pat O'Donnell won't be on this team, Dan Whelan will be not only the punter but the holder for the Green Bay Packers. I believe we should start expecting a little bit more consistency from Anders Carlson.
From your lips to the football god's ears, here's hoping, man. I'm with you. I'm excited about him. I think he's going to do good stuff long term. I just don't know if it'll be in Green Bay. Well, here's the hope. The hope is yes. The hope is definitely yes. Malcom, I can't thank you enough, man, for hanging out and talking about these Packers rookies. Like I said, we'll check in probably about, I don't know, it's a couple month or two into the season. We'll see how these rookies are doing. We'll get your take. And in the meantime, people, make sure you're subscribed to Big Mac's breakdowns. I got the link in the description of this video. Malcom, I can't thank you enough for the time, man.
Again, thank you for having me. This is fun. I love talking to rookies and just talking football in general. I hope that, can I do a little plug?
You please plug away, man.
I plan on having some rookie progress reports, just preseason progress reports. I don't know if it'll be, it probably won't be all 13 rookies, but do expect some of that if you decide to come over and subscribe.
Subscribe to his channel, man. It's pure football. I love it. I love your stuff, man. Thank you so much.
Again, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.